want. I just wished that Deb could have fucking over Christmas. And then one day, I walked up a pier at Beth Ironworks in Maine. I was there for the mast stepping ceremony of DDG 109, USS Jason Dunham. And nothing can prepare you to see your Marine's name on the transom of a fucking naval vessel. And I realized in that moment when I saw his name there, that in that moment of selflessness, he transformed an object of personal protection into an instrument of protection of others. And in that moment, his actions have created far-reaching consequences that he never could have duplicated in life. In that moment, he was born into the heritage of our Corps. And his example will stand alongside of the countless others who've created that heritage and will continue to inspire Marines and sailors and anyone else who hears his story for years and years and years. It's an impact that I still can't fathom. But he is leading by example every day still. And today he's 38 years old. On the 244th anniversary of the birth of our Corps. And if that isn't something, I don't know what is.
It's it can be, use the term overwhelming. And it's pretty easy to be overwhelmed by something like this. It's easy to be overwhelmed by an act of such selflessness to make the ultimate sacrifice. it's easy to look at that and get overwhelmed by it. And maybe think to yourself, well, that was something else. That's something I don't understand. That's something I can't relate to. That's something I don't need to think about. And I would actually say to you, no. That actually is something you should think about. That actually is something you should relate to. That is something you should try and pursue every single day. To think about every single day that there's a person, flesh and blood, with one life to live, and who gave his life for his friends. And maybe every day, if you think about not what you can take from the world, but what you can give. And if you can do that right there, if you can give a little bit, and reflect a little bit of Jason Dunham back into the world, then the world will be a better place for it. And with that, we've been at it for a while, and I just want to thank all of you guys for coming on here, for sharing some of these things that you learned from him, from sharing it with other people. And thank you all, of course, individually for what you all did. I could talk to each one of you individually, separately, for hours to hear about what you guys have been through, what you've seen. So thanks for your service and sacrifice, but thank you for coming here and for honoring your brother. Not only in the ways that you're living your lives right now, raising your children, but also by telling the story of his life and ensuring that no one ever forgets the sacrifice that he made. And I can promise you, we will never forget him. So thanks for coming on. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps. Happy birthday to Jason Dunham. And of course, Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
And with that, our guests have left the building. Sergeant Bill Hampton, Corporal Kelly Miller, Staff Sergeant John Ferguson, and Lieutenant Colonel Trent Gibson. Thanks to all of them for coming on. And Echo Charles has joined us at the table. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
You were in the support role on that podcast.
Yes, sir.
So appreciate you manning the controls in the back.
Sure.
Keeping things running smoothly. Obviously, an honor for us to be able to sit here and talk with those men. And once again, when we turned off the recorders and we were kind of helping those guys, get on out of here and all that, they all had places to be and whatnot. But, you could see that they were happy to come on and happy to share the story. And I said, guys, And I never really thought about this before, but I said, guys, imagine if you could sit down and put some headphones on and listen to the platoon commander, the machine gunner, the platoon sergeant that was out there with John Basilone. Imagine if you could do that. Imagine what that would mean to you. And that's what it is like for them to come on here and share the story of Jason Dunham. So it's an honor for me to be sitting here and to be able to meet with those guys and share that story, heavy as it is. You know, and I know it's one of the heaviest stories that a person can share. And to have those guys sit down and go through this, I just want to say thanks to them once again. And, you know, I one of the most important things that I need to put out about this is that there are some people right now trying to put together a documentary about the life of Jason Dunham and what he did, how it all happened. And so the documentary is going to be called The Gift. And it's a couple vets. A couple vets are trying to make the documentary. So if you want to support them, you can go to Facebook or Instagram. They have @TheGift Documentary. And then what they're trying to do is fund it. And they're trying to fund it through an Indiegogo campaign. So if you go to Indiegogo, which is a website where they take donations to make things happen, and on that Indiegogo campaign, it is called The Gift Documentary. So if you can, try and provide some support so that this story can be told in detail and rolled out to an even larger audience. So check that out. And if you can, try and help them out to move forward with this project. In hearing this story, I guess, Echo, you know, I also told those guys about how we sort of decompress after these things and how that is an actual thing. Mm-hmm. And what we just did is we just decompressed with the guys. You know, once we got done, we kind of took a breath. We walked outside. We started having some normal conversations about life. And Wild Bill was showing me pictures of hunting and his kids, and we're running around with Jet and just doing a decompression. So that's awesome. You got to do that. And that's sort of how we started this whole support segment. Yeah. Was we did a podcast. It was one of the early podcasts that was really heavy. And when we got done, I was like, hey, I need a moment over here to decompress. Why don't you talk for a minute? Yep. And so that's kind of where it came from. And the good thing is, if you don't want to listen to this, it's fine. You don't need to. You can just press stop and we're good. You can go carry on with your day. If you need to decompress a little bit with us, cool. You can hang out. We're going to hang out for a little bit till we get a little decompressed. And, you know, one of the things that it is good to reflect on, how do we take what we just heard, which is heavy, and turn it into something that we can actually utilize. As far as I'm concerned, we got... You know, when you hear a story like Jason Dunham, we get charged with living the best lives we can, being the best people we can. And you heard this from all these guys. It's like, hey, how can we live better, do better? So that's what we're here for. You know, and look at our lives and say, what can we do better in our lives? How can we get better? How can we be better? That's what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And I know you know some ways, Echo Charles.
Yes, sir. To get better.
What's one of the primary ways that you can think of?
Jiu-jitsu. Okay, so
here's the thing. You get asked this. I get asked this the other day. Somebody presented this problem to me. This whole problem of like, look, we are tribal in nature and the tribes are gone and we used to hunt and all these things, it's all gone and now we got cell phones and people don't talk. This whole big societal problem.
Sure.
And said, what do you think we should do about this incredibly powerful societal problem that we've got of people being disconnected and not needing to hunt, not being formed into tribes anymore. The whole litany of problems. And I was like, oh yeah, all that, just train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I'm actually serious.